Men's Salaries and Benefits Code, MCRC Facility Supervisor and Program Specialist, 22-245 Budget Amendments, 22-246 Authorized Rollover Advances, 22-247 Fitness Centers Design Services Agreement and Repeal of Ordinance 4719 MCRC, 22-248 Agreement with Health Department for Stormwater Runoff Testing, 22-249 amend Chapter 909 regarding small cell wireless facilities, 22-250 amend Salaries and Benefits Salary Range for Parks Director, Superintendent of Parks, 22-251 amend Salaries and Benefits 3102B13 and 3105 for the City Council Office, and 22-252 2023 Health Insurance Renewal for Medical Mutual of Ohio. Reports of municipal officers. Mayor Hamwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's information on the proposed deer hunting ordinance and facts that are posted on the city website Parks page. They were also sent out in the October utility bills. We respectfully ask the residents and voters to view that to be properly informed. The 8th annual turkey drive to support Feeding Medina County will be held this year at the Medina Farmers Exchange, 320 South Court Street, November 16th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And they're taking donations of turkeys as well as cash for some of the other foods for the Thanksgiving giveaways. The Candlelight Walk and tree lighting for the 38th annual Candlelight Walk weekend will be November 18th through 20th. The tree and downtown lighting ceremony will start at 7 p.m. Friday, November 18th. I'd like to thank the Main Street Medina for their efforts in putting this event on each year and the vast amounts of people who attend to see our beautiful community and support our local businesses. We really are blessed. So we have a special presentation tonight. As the council is aware, Medina Police and Fire have assisted on medic calls for decades, and I'm very proud of those collaborative efforts. On October 21st, Medina Police assisted with the delivery of a baby prior to the LST squad arriving. In here to recognize Officer Lauren Brooks from the Medina Hospital, the Cleveland Clinic, our medical director, Dr. Rulin, EMS coordinator Brad Turner, and LST manager Joe Toth. And the chief just advised me that the baby that Officer Brooks delivered, Estella, is here with her family, so we'd like to invite them up as well.
So my name is Brad Turner. I'm the EMS coordinator with Medina Hospital, here with Dr. Rulin. So our job at Cleveland Clinic Medina Hospital, we provide medical direction for our folks at Medina Life Support Team, provide online standing protocols that they practice by, as well as training. And our favorite part of the job truly is to celebrate jobs well done. Sometimes, like tonight, this escalates beyond our folks at Medina Life Support Team and in collaboration. So we're proud to present Officer Lauren Brooks with an award. Dr. Rulin, if you will.
So I'm Dr. Rulin, everybody, and this is for Officer Lauren Brooks. The Cleveland Clinic EMS leadership is proud to present this certificate and stork pin in recognition of the outstanding and steadfast efforts displayed on October 21st, 2022 by Officer Lauren Brooks. Officer Brooks responded successfully and expediently to assist with the delivery of a newborn. May the actions of Officer Brooks be recalled tomorrow as the standard by which we should be held henceforth today.
You gotta tell us what happened. So, you have a mic?
What happened?
Yeah. Well, I know what happened, but maybe.
Yeah, do you want to tell them, Lauren, or, just as a point of clarification, when we say assisted delivering the baby, that's not quite accurate. She delivered the baby. She delivered the baby like she's done it many times before. Lauren's she's got a little bit over a year of experience with Medina Police Department, so she's a relatively new officer. And again, she went in and she went to this call. From the time she arrived at the house to the time she was delivering a baby, it was 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So she gets there, walks into the house, there's a language barrier. She's trying to figure out what's going on, and before she can even do that, Estella's coming. And again, she handled that situation very calm, very professionally, and made it look like she's done this before, which I'm fairly certain she is not. And it's also worth pointing out that I've been a police officer here in Medina for over 25 years, and we've never delivered a baby before. So congratulations, Lauren, you did a great job. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, it was just an honor to be able to do that. I was not expecting that. Typically, when we go to medic calls, we're just there to assist and make sure that everyone's okay until EMS arrives. So like Chief said, obviously there was a language barrier, trying to understand what was going on, how long she had been, feeling labor pains. And before I knew it, they were just yelling pants, and I'm like, okay, like, are you sure? Asked me to basically take her pants off, and then the baby was out within maybe 10 seconds of that. So it was pretty amazing to hear her cry for the first time, and I'm just really thankful that both of them are really healthy and everybody's, safe here and doing okay.
They just got stepped on.
We needed that tonight.
Thank you. Anything else, Mayor? Ms. Bauer is the Deputy Finance Director.
Nothing to report tonight. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
President.
Mr. Huber, City Law Director.
Thank you. I have no report.
Thank you. Is that Mr. Toth, the LST Director down there?
Thank you, Mr. President. Life support team responded to 9,965 calls in the city of Medina through October. For all three entities, which is the city, Medina Township, and Montville, we responded to 4,550 ambulance calls. That's 263 over this time last year. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gladish, Building Official.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Mr. Picoli, Service Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Officer Brooks is delivering babies, and we came and pick up leaves. But on a serious note, we do have trucks out. We're asking folks to be patient. We've been out since the 24th of October. It's only 3 weeks. We're on our 4th week. We picked up 211 loads so far. That's a lot. That's a lot of leaves. So asking people to be patient. We have two trucks in the northeast quadrant of the city now, one in the southeast, and then by the end of the week, we'll have 2 trucks in the southeast and then rotate over to the southwest in Ward 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Worley, Parks and Recreation Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just 2 updates. We recently completed the dog park project over at Ray Mallard Park, including the parking lot expansion and landscaping. We're anticipating opening the dog park sometime in the summer of next year, once the grass and everything's established. So thank you to the engineering department. 50% of that project was paid for through a capital bill grant. Secondly, I want to echo what Mayor Hanwell said about the Candlelight Walk this weekend. This past weekend, there were over 100 volunteers who helped the city with decorating of the district, including volunteers from Medina High School, Medina County Career Center, Kiwanis, Breakfast Kiwanis, Main Street Medina board members, 4 Main Street business owners, 20 community volunteers, In addition to that, Armstrong Cable, Plastipac, Medina Supply, Root Candles, the Community Design Committee, Medina County Visitors Bureau, the 2022 Candlelight Decorating Committee, the City of Medina, including our Parks and Street Department. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, and it wouldn't be possible without Main Street helping with that. I think Angela's here, so thank you for coordinating that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to jump back to Chief Kenny, Police Department. Anything you want to?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you. Mr. Patton, City Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to report their Gates Mills Boulevard Bridge Replacement Project started today. It only affects, I think, 5 residents down there, but it does affect them significantly. The project is being done in halves in order to maintain access through there. We expect the project to be done by the end of January.
Thank you. Chief Walters, Fire Department.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you. Mr. Dutton, Planning Community Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you're likely aware, a hotel has been proposed in downtown Medina on South Court Street. Last week, the project received approval from our Historic Preservation Board, Planning Commission, and Board of Zoning Appeals. This has been an extended process. The boards originally reviewed the proposal in August. It was tabled. They then held a work session in September to discuss the project with the applicant, Jim Gershbacher. Based on discussion and feedback from the boards, guidance from staff, and input from the public and community organizations, Mr. Gershbacher's team significantly revised both the site plan and the building exterior, resulting in a much improved proposal. So moving forward, the project will also be subject to the building and engineering review and require agreements regarding access to city property. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think for myself, and I don't know, members of council, I think it's a great thing that the process worked. I think that the community gave a lot of input. The modifications have been made. I think it'll be a great addition to the square to allow additional members of the surrounding area to come and visit a square and spend a night on our square, which, I don't think has ever been done. I guess there was a hotel a long time ago, but
American Hotel.
not when I was alive, I guess. But I think that that's a great thing that happened. So we appreciate all your help and assistance in that and guiding that through the process. We have notice of communications and petitions. We have none. Unfinished business. There is none. Introduction of visitors. Members of the public will be given the opportunity to speak on any issue or concern which pertains to the city during a portion of the council agenda devoted to introduction of visitors. All comments shall be directed to the chair, and a reasonable time limit of approximately 5 minutes will be imposed. If there's a group, please appoint a spokesperson. Speakers should approach the rear microphone and state their name and address so it can be entered into the minutes. Members of the public will be afforded the opportunity to comment on other portions of the meeting that are determined by the chair or by a vote of the majority of council members present. Is there anybody that wishes to address council at this time? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilors, Mayor, thank you for having me. My name is Khalil Sarin. I am the mayor of the city of Cleveland Heights. Just here to address you about your considered resolution or ordinance allowing for the flying of certain flags on city property. I didn't drive the better part of an hour to come down here and tell you what to do or to tell you how best to represent your constituents, but I did want to provide just a little bit of insight, if I could, about my experience as a mayor in Cleveland Heights and our experience this year celebrating Pride Month and flying several flags on our flagpoles. I'll start by saying that we fly the American flag constantly on our flagpoles. We do not remove it, we do not take it down. However, this Pride Month, we, for the first time in Cleveland Heights, celebrated Pride by raising and flying Pride flags, Progress Pride flags, on every city flagpole in the city. That is at our city hall, at our fire stations, at our parks, at our municipal buildings. Anywhere we had a flagpole, we flew the Pride flag. And this was the first time for us in Cleveland Heights doing this. Not everybody was on board, I assure you, and the opposition ranged from anonymous vitriol sent through the mail with profanity and veiled threats to, terribly inaccurate interpretations of the flag code, sent through social media and email. But we flew the flag, and I want to let you know why we flew the flag. We flew the flag not as a partisan or political event, but because we recognize that we live in a society where members of our society have been relegated to secrecy and closets, who've been forced into hiding who they are and lying to themselves and lying to their families and lying to their communities about who they are. And that has devastating consequences on a life, because nobody can live in a healthy way in a closet. None of us can. And these requirements, these societal requirements, are enforced through families, through shunning, through ridicule in our society, through violence sometimes, horrific violence. But not everybody succumbs to that. Not everybody submits to that. And Pride is one of those occasions that was a pivotal moment in American history, where people stood up and said, no more. We will not live in closets. We will be who we are, and we will be proud of who we are. And I think that as an elected representative of the people that I serve, it is my responsibility to protect those people's rights to be who they are, unashamed. The opposite of pride is shame, and I wouldn't wish shame on anybody in my community. And in this case, Medina has the opportunity to continue a tradition that, frankly, I applaud you for, a tradition of inclusion, a tradition of making substantive moves to protect the people in your community who have historically been disenfranchised and discriminated against. Your substantive ordinances against intimidation and discrimination are laudable, but it is also extremely important to create those very visible moments of support. One of the things that we did in Cleveland Heights was painting a crosswalk in the colors of the Progress Pride flag. And despite the hate mail that I received and the arguments against, one of the things that I remember most vividly is the communication that I received from one of the parents in our community, who said that her daughter was trans and had been feeling terribly, terribly discriminated against in Ohio. Hearing horrible things on the news spoken by people in our legislature, people in the governor's office, powerful political people saying hateful things about her child. And when that child walked across that crosswalk to go to school, they felt embraced by their community. They felt welcome. They felt included. And that was important. That moment for that child was extremely important, and that moment is something that we need to share with every member of our community. And so I encourage you, and I feel encouraged by you in the conversation that I listened to on the way down here through the committee meeting immediately preceding this meeting. It seems that you are on the right track, and I pray, hope for the continued progress in this community. And I wanted to share with you that even though there may be division, and there may be division that is increased by the passing of this ordinance, that division is between those who would keep people in closets and those who would allow people to be who they are. And I know what side you want to be on in that division. Be on the right side of history. There are people who will support you for that. So thank you, and I wish you luck.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to address council at this time? Yes, ma'am.
Council President, members of council, and administration. My name is Cindy Strebig, and following the out-of-towners presentation, I live in Lakewood, Ohio. I'm a landlady, an educator, a concerned United States citizen, and a married lesbian. I'm also an executive board member of the Cleveland Stonewall Democrats. First, a word of thanks to your city council people, Jess Hazeltine and Bill Lamb, for standing up against hate and ignorance. Thank you very much, both of you. As students of life and continual learners, we all understand that we just don't know what we don't know. So I'd like to explain what flying the pride flag means and what it does not mean. Flying the pride flag is a symbol of support to the queer community, just like the stars and stripes on the Gettysburg battlefield. It unites us in our continued fight against hate and ignorance. Every day, our community is subject to attacks on trans children, trans people of color, and countless others. We fly the pride flag for the child or adult that feels alone and attacked, so that they may know hope and community. Flying the pride flag is not a replacement for the American flag. It's a celebration of the American flag and the American values that the flag stands for: diversity and inclusion. My second message that I want to bring to you is, I'm a little concerned about Medina. I was canvassing a couple weeks ago in Lakewood, and I knocked on the door of a young homeowner who told me that he had just moved to Lakewood from Medina. And I asked him, well, why did you move? He kind of rolled his eyes and turned his head and frowned. And he said his wife was from Lakewood, and they were uncomfortable living in Medina. You've heard the analogy. We can pull people from the river all day, but at some point we have to walk upstream and find out why they're jumping in. So here I am, upstream in Medina, to ask the good people of Medina to reconsider your position. A position often made by misinformation and lies. See through this hate and ignorance. Find your heart and humanity. Let go of the shame and guilt that prevent you from doing the hard work, and open your minds to the idea that this is better and not worse. I'm asking you to represent and lead all the tax-paying voters of Medina, not just the ones that are closed-minded. I call on this city council and mayor to recognize June as Pride Month and fly the pride flag on every city pole all month long. I'm not asking you to recreate the wheel. I've brought the resolution from Lakewood that I received on behalf of the Cleveland Stonewall Democrats, recognizing June as Pride Month. If you'd like to make a copy of this, if you'd like to take a picture, we're more than happy to share this with you. Thank you for this time.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Long. I live on Woodhaven Lane here in Medina. Wasn't sure I was going to say anything. We have so many people here who have sent emails today or are here to show their support. There was a little bit of misunderstanding about when we should come. So relieved to hear that there's been such progress made today in the Finance Committee meeting. I felt the need to come up here because I am a member of the community. So while I very much appreciate what the guests from other communities had to say today, I think the one thing that I've been thinking about is diversity, equity, and inclusion education that I feel may be needed amongst everybody who makes these decisions. The school district provides this kind of education. I know that the law enforcement has had diversity, equity, and inclusion education. I have been a little bit concerned since the flags went up and came down and went back up, and now this conversation. I have felt concerned by what I hear as a response from Mayor Hanwell and others, that there is not clarity about diversity, equity, and inclusion. The flags are about going beyond, doing the right thing, and we have done the right thing here in Medina. And that's an amazing thing that we did to be progressive. But I've seen the responses that come back to those of us who are for the flags. And there's always an opportunity taken to educate us on maybe flag ordinances or the position of the opposers. And flags are really not just an opportunity to celebrate and be proud, but the pride flag, the flags for Juneteenth, these are all recognized, federally recognized issues that we want to solve and bring attention to. So I wonder what the response was to the people who brought their hateful feelings forward about the flags. I wonder what the response was to them. Did anyone take the opportunity to educate about why we would fly the flags, about inclusivity? So obviously, it's not the same thing as asking to put a Confederate flag on our flagpoles. That is not recognized as an underrepresented group that we need to lift up and bring forward and create attention around. I mean, we have Black History Month, we have Hispanic Heritage Month, we have all these different federally recognized ways that we want to try to bring attention and education. And really, Pride Month is a part of that. The flags are a part of that. So I'm happy that we are getting to a place where we're all working together. And I'm excited to be a part of that. I am the parent of a young LGBTQ child who is very well supported in the school and the public schools. And I loved having the flags to explain to this young child who doesn't even really fully understand what LGBTQ is, to help him make those connections, to understand that the flag means your city welcomes you. He understands what gay is. He has aunts and he understands it's about them. But I took the opportunity to show him the flags and talk to him about the flags, to say that the community is sharing that support, so that one day, when he hits that wall of hate that I know is coming, he's only 8 right now, it'll all start to snap together. Medina supports me. This business supports me. What those flags mean. He's the happiest kid in the world. He doesn't need you flying a flag for him right now, but one day it will all click. And to know that Medina can get past this and that we can, as a community, share inclusive messages that bring awareness to underrepresented groups, I want that to continue. I want to be proud of where we live and where we are raising our LGBTQ child.
Thank you. Just start a line back there if you want to speak. You don't have to sit down the whole time. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. Hello, my name is Haley Fisher. I am a graduate of Medina City Schools, and I also currently am living in Medina. I am also a licensed professional clinical mental health counselor in the state of Ohio. I specialize in suicide and self-harm in adolescents and the director of adolescent services at my practice. Many of my clients are part of the LGBTQIA+ community. I would like to share some information with you today. And to the board, I did send you an email with some studies attached. 86% of transgender youth have considered suicide, and 56% have attempted suicide. You heard that correctly. More than half of transgender youth have attempted suicide. These studies show that the reason for this is due to a lack of feeling like they belong in a community, and emotional neglect and flat-out abuse by family members. Additionally, lifetime suicide attempts are higher among LGBT youth who feel they do not belong and are not accepted in their communities. On the other hand, these studies indicate that LGBT youth who do feel like they belong, who are accepted in their communities, who feel loved and welcomed, are half as likely to attempt suicide. Having pride flags and Pride Month celebrated in a town like Medina, Ohio, shows a compassionate and inclusive environment that welcomes our children and our teens. I have had teen clients who have poured their tears out to me in session due to being physically assaulted at school as a result of holding hands with their partner. I have had 13-year-olds who were hospitalized for a suicide attempt after being kicked out of their house when they told their parents they are trans. When we agree to remove the pride flags due to fear of offending certain individuals in our community, we send a very clear message that this type of hateful behavior is okay, and we accept it. It's not okay, and I refuse to accept that behavior. When your parents, your peers, and your community are not on your side, then who is? Can you imagine how absolutely isolating, how absolutely terrifying it must be to have your entire social support system turn on you when you are only 13 years old? Seriously, I want everyone to just sit with that emotion and what that might feel like. It is not enough to just simply tolerate the existence of LGBT persons and youth within our community. We can no longer turn a blind eye to hate and toxicity targeted towards our youth and must actively create a community that screams, you are allowed to be here, you are welcomed here, you are respected here, and most importantly, you are loved here. Removing the pride flags in Medina Square sends a strong message regarding how safe those youths and adults are to express themselves freely. The indication of these studies and these stories are clear. Inclusive symbols within a community that support our LGBT members and children is suicide prevention. It inspires hope, and it provides accessibility to resources to protect our most vulnerable community members. I sincerely hope that you will make the right choice and will ethically consider the consequences of the decision after today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Steve Laban. I live at 361 South Prospect Street. I will try to be very brief. The first thing I want to do is reinforce what the previous two speakers have said about the importance of people being supported to feel safe being who they are. I am a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Akron. One of our most deeply held principles is that all people are welcome and all people are loved. And I have seen in person that that environment has saved lives that otherwise might well have been lost. The second thing I want to do is address some of the supposed concerns that have been raised about respect for the U.S. flag. If you drive past my house, you will see two things in front of my house. One is an American flag flying from my porch. The other are 3-yard signs expressing what I consider to be basic American principles. Black lives matter, hate has no home here, and reproductive rights are human rights. I fly that flag because I have great respect for it and because it stands for those values that America stands for at its best. Some of my neighbors display flags that are various versions of the flag that are altered or mutilated, and these things are a direct violation of the flag code that these people claim to respect. So I do not want to hear anything about flying pride flags alongside the American flag as being disrespectful of the American flag. It's some of the people expressing those concerns who are deeply disrespecting the American flag, and as a patriotic American, I resent that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm not as good as talking off the top of my head, so I'm going to have to read this. I appreciate your time. My name is Sandy Varndell. I live at 1014 Smoke Rise Drive here in Medina. Thank you, Medina City Council and Mayor Hanwell. I am also the founder and coordinator for a group called OutSupport, which is Medina's LGBTQ support, information, and advocacy program. I started the program 9 years ago when my husband and I found out that our son was transgender and there was no support whatsoever here at Medina. I'd like to speak of my support for a protocol to be established for flags that can be flown throughout the year from Medina City Square that are not the American flag, but flags related to important segments of society and holidays that many find great joy in. Last year, Mayor Hanwell agreed to members of OutSupport group to let us fly our pride flags on the Medina Square for a portion of the month of June. which was proclaimed by our United States President as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer, and Intersex Pride Month. Well, we would have been thrilled with flying a few flags on the square. We were asked to purchase 29 flags and 29 spinnable flagpoles, which we happily did. And while the flags flew only a portion of the time that the mayor had agreed to, members and friends of OutSupport, and indeed the entire state of Ohio, cheered the fact that Medina was not only acknowledging our LGBTQIA+ residents and allies, but celebrating this fabulous part of society. We celebrated this amazing moment in Medina's history, and there was much joy in the hearts of LGBTQIA+ folks living here. We know that not everyone was pleased with this, however. The flags may not be a part of your world, but I would like to tell you about the things happening right now in our corner of the world that is seeking to celebrate diversity and inclusion. And these are all things that are here in Medina. In our county, 6 of the 7 public high schools now have a gender and sexualities alliances, along with 3 middle schools, helping to support hundreds of LGBTQIA students and their ally friends. Our Medina County Library System has regular programming now for LGBTQ students, youth. Our Medina County Health Department is the only health department in the whole state that's working with an LGBTQIA community group to better the health outcomes of LGBTQIA youth and adults. Hope Recovery Center has a weekly LGBTQIA recovery meeting. Leadership Medina County has invited OutSupport to provide a panel discussion regarding LGBTQIA living and working in Medina for its year-long diversity and inclusion educational programming. Westfield Insurance Company, one of Medina County's largest employers, has a very active LGBTQIA employee resource group. The Medina G2H2 social community is a very active LGBTQIA adult social group that meets monthly at local restaurants and bars, as well as other get-togethers, and supports these local establishments. And I have to mention that there are sellout crowds at Drag Me to Dinner drag show at Williams on the Lake with our favorite drag queen in town, Gingerella. Dozens of Medina residents, if any of you are from out of town, please drive around the town during the day. You'll see dozens of residents flying rainbow flags, pride flags, on their homes to show support for their LGBTQIA loved ones. Over 200 residents of Medina came out last summer to our Pride event on the square. And OutSupport has provided our Transgender 101 program to the following Medina and Northeast Ohio organizations that include Medina County District Library All-Staff Training, Medina High School All-Staff Training, Medina Kiwanis, Westfield Employee Resource Group, the Cleveland Clinic, Medina Health Department All-Staff Training, John Carroll University, Cleveland State University, and Kent State University, and the Lubrizol Employee Resource Group. Small businesses on the Medina Square are greatly supportive of LGBTQIA Medina customers. And big companies like Huntington, US Bank, Chase, and nearly all of the businesses on Court Street have diversity and inclusion in their corporate policies. Many churches in Medina are very supportive of their LGBTQIA congregants, including the UCC Church, St. Paul's Episcopalian Church, Unity of Medina, and several other spiritual organizations who practice their faith here. Sorry if this is too long, but OutSupport has received funding for all of the things that we do in this community for the LGBT community from 3 Akron Community Foundation endowment funds, including the Medina Women's Endowment Fund, First Energy Foundation, and the Westfield Foundation, among other funding organizations. People have left sizable sums to OutSupport in their wills and memorials to LGBTQ loved ones who have passed away. Hundreds of private residents have donated sums, large and small, because they see the need for a program like OutSupport to support and uplift the LGBTQIA community here in this town. I tell you all of this, you may not want to believe that there is support for LGBTQIA in our community, but there is in multiple ways. People here in Medina want to live in a community that is open-minded and progressive about LGBTQIA issues. They want to celebrate the diversity of our community, and they want to be seen and celebrated for who they authentically are. The mission statement of the city of Medina itself includes the mission to preserve, promote, and support diversity, among other attributes, through innovation, responsiveness, and resourcefulness. I see flags that promote diversity in a city's population, including not just our pride flags, but celebrating racial and other diversity as well. Innovation suggests being forward-thinking to demonstrate the commitment to diversity. The flags on the Medina Square do just that. The pride flags that flew for a week last June indicated to residents of Medina City, Medina County, and the state of Ohio that Medina is not narrow-minded, but open-minded and welcoming to all. That's the Medina I want to live in. That's what the pride flag said to the world. 35 communities, including Medina, have passed LGBTQ protections, as the state of Ohio has no statewide protections. I want to say, too, that we did when the ordinance passed here in Medina in 2019, 25 communities had passed ordinances. So between then and now, 10 additional towns and cities in Ohio have passed LGBT protections. I would venture a guess that nearly all the cities and towns fly pride flags on their equivalent of our public square, and many more fly them that do not yet have protections. This week, in our Ohio State Legislature and our Ohio State Board of Education, hearings are taking place and likely votes will be cast to deny LGBTQIA youth medical care they desperately need, opportunities to play school sports, whether teachers must out LGBTQIA students to possibly violent parents, whether books will be allowed in school libraries with LGBTQIA themes, or whether a child with two mommies or two daddies can even talk about their families at school anymore. If LGBTQIA youth are facing all of that hateful energy from adults in this state who make decisions, is it really too much to ask that these same youth see some flags in their hometown that reflect who they are or who their parents are for a very short period of time during the calendar year? And I would hope that that would be not too much of an ask. And I thank you for your time on this matter.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Marina Prentice. I'm 18 years old. I'm a senior at Medina High School, and I live at 6399 Hooper Drive. I thank you all for your time today. I'm sorry if I sound choked up. I was just really touched by the last speaker. So, Mayor Hanwell stated that the flying of the flags didn't create a sense of inclusion. It created a sense of division. And I'm here to say that whatever resistance was faced last year over the hanging of the flags does not outweigh the fact that there are members of Medina community that face that resistance every single day. I understand that county officials faced pushback last year, but I do not understand their willingness to concede to that pushback. Surrendering to this hatred sends a very clear message. It tells the LGBTQ plus people of Medina that they are not worth the space, the time, the effort, the energy. And it tells them that their county will guard hatred before it will guard love. Whatever legislative barriers county officials are met with regarding this issue can be solved, so that just leaves their willingness to do so. As a member of this community, I am asking, please do not concede. Please make this a county where all children, teenagers, and adults, no matter their identity, can go to sleep at night knowing that they are loved and supported, and knowing that Medina is a place that they can truly call home. Thank you for your time.
Hello. My name is Colton Kemp. I live at 797 East Reagan Parkway. So over there we have the U.S. flag flying. And that to me represents that we hold the core values of the U.S. To me that means that we feed the hungry, we protect the weak, and we mend the broken. Now here we are today, and we're talking about the progressive pride flag. That is there for inclusion of all people, no matter their race, their gender, or their attraction. This is not an exclusive flag. It is inclusive. It's for everybody in this county. It's everybody in the world. Here, so, hold on, excuse me. I moved here a year ago, and I was proud to see the flag up. But then a week later, it was torn down, and that disappointed me. Disappointed me in this county. When that was torn down and it wasn't put back up, it meant that our county did not respect us, did not respect the LGBTQ community as a whole, because those kids that are 13, that are trans, LGBTQ does not matter. They face that every single day. And if our city can't stand the vitriol of judgmental and crazy people, you expect a 13-year-old to be able to take that? I stood here today and I listened to us saying that we're going to push the legislation to a later date. I feel in the face of divisiveness, our leaders are being indecisive. There are other communities that already do this. They already have this kind of stuff in place, and yet we're going to push this along. Like the earlier mayor stated, we have done wonderful things protecting our LGBTQ community. But without visibility, you're hiding from people that would be there to attack the LGBTQ community. It's pathetic. I'm just disappointed. And I would hope that as our leaders, elected by all of us, that you would stand up to the divisiveness, stand up against people that are there to do us harm, and put these flags up to show that you support the people that are weakest, the people who don't feel safe to come out to their friends, their family, walk around their community, stay out late at night because they're afraid of being attacked. So I really hope that our council and our leadership choose to stand up and defend those that can't protect themselves and act as a shield, because that's what they are. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rita Harley. I live at 6662 Norwalk Road. I am a voice here in Medina County. I have Medina News on the Street is my Facebook page. I am very disappointed in the fact that the flags were put down early and that one was destroyed. I came out in 2019 on my Medina page because of the ordinance that came through to help us as a LGBTQ community. And I have had a lot of problems in Medina. I moved here in 2001. I've been fired from a job for kissing a girlfriend in the parking lot on my break because the owner caught me or saw me. I was on a break. I have had my faggot written on a van. I've had an old lady accost a teenager that got out of my vehicle for a little gay pride thing on my van. I feel a lot of hate here in Medina County for our community, and I feel that that is so wrong. When those flags went up, there was such pride for a lot of us to finally get some kind of recognition for who we are. It's not the fact that we're shoving things down anybody's throat. We're just trying to live our life. I'm 52 years old. You know, I'm not trying to, be different or anything like that. I just want to live my life. That's it. I don't want to have to worry about all the hate. You don't know how many times on my Medina page that I've had to defend us because of all the hate that's here in Medina County. A lot of hate. If you read some of the things that come up, And all I keep saying is, what does that have to do with you? Really, what is the flag against anybody? It's about love, not hate. And all we get is hate for it. And I feel that's so wrong. I hope you'll pass that at least a week out of the year that we can be proud, you know, of the flags flying in Medina Square. Thank you.
Excuse me. My name is Kevin Norris. I live here in the city of Medina. Do I have to state my address?
Yes, you do. For the record, yes.
190 Potomac Court. I've heard a lot of emotional arguments tonight. I'd like to give a logical one, and that is that, and forgive me, I didn't prepare a speech. I heard about this meeting at 1800 hours tonight. The fact is, the American flag and the Ohio flag, and maybe a Medina flag, if there is such a thing, those are the only flags that should be allowed to be flown on any public flagpole. Those flags right there, the American and the Ohio, those are apolitical flags. This pride flag that we are discussing tonight is a very partisan and political flag that forces the whole city to endorse a certain sexual behavior, and that's not right. And anybody here who uses logic knows that. Now, I've been accused, people like me have been accused over and over again of intolerance and hatred for not flying a flag that endorses a certain sexual behavior. And we really don't appreciate that. No one's murdering you in the streets. No one's oppressing you.
Hey, don't, stop
And I would
it.
appreciate
Don't
also
let him
not being
speak.
interrupted I'm the first one to be interrupted tonight after everyone else in support was not interrupted, okay? Now, another point to the whole hatred thing is that this country is incredibly tolerant. If you want to see intolerance, particularly of homosexual behavior, you can easily find it in other countries, Middle Eastern countries, communist countries, socialist countries, countries like the Russia, etc. It's all over the world. It's not here. That is a fantasy. And although this country is not a democracy, it is a republic, if it were a democracy and we had a vote on this, if we simply had a vote, what are the flags allowed on the Medina Square? The answer would be the American and the Ohio. Mayor Hanwell knows this. He got a lot of, and I'm glad he eventually made the right decision, but he got a lot of flack for flying the so-called pride flag on the square. One more thing, and this is an emotional thing. I have many brothers in arms. I served in the Marine Corps from 03 to 09, and I was not personally in any particular combat. I was in a fort area, but I do have many brothers in arms who died specifically for the American flag, an apolitical flag that unites all of us, and they didn't die for any other flag. That's all I have.
Stephanie Reed, 501 West Friendship Street. I'm just going to read the email that I sent out. Mayor Hanwell and Medina City Council, I am writing in regards to the recent discussion during the special legislation meeting about the use of city poles displaying pride flags during the month of June. I cannot believe we are having this discussion again. I am deeply disappointed and honestly embarrassed that we would think it appropriate as a city to take two steps forward and 3 steps back on something so basic as acceptance, love, and care for our fellow community members. This is not, as some so casually put it, a controversial issue. Pride Month and the flags that go with it are not about waving one's sexuality in the face of their neighbors. If we take just a moment to pause and educate ourselves on this matter, we can clearly see that Pride Month is a celebration that did not start out as one. Pride, as we know it today, was formed on the backs of countless American citizens that have been harassed, beaten, sexually assaulted, jailed, and murdered for simply being who they are. It has transformed into what we know it now as not only a reminder of where we came from, but a hope of where we can still go. Tell me, Mayor Hanwell and fellow council, what is so controversial about basic human rights, other than perhaps having to admit our wrongdoings as a society and move forward from them with grace? Instead, you sit here before all of us today and you say it was a mistake to fly a flag that represents a growing number of your residents. It was also called divisive, and someone said that when they look at it, it doesn't represent them, and that's why they don't want it flown. I would like to reflect more on Councilperson Lamb's comments about the Christmas tree we put up every year. It represents one religion, one holiday. Does that tick off the diversity box in your mission statement? Diverse, as long as it's within these white Christian parameters. Local churches have booked time on the square, dragged an actual swimming pool onto the grounds, and baptized members of their congregation. They have held entire services. They do not represent me. Did anyone march up there and demand their pool be taken down in the middle of their celebration? Did I walk up there myself and call my neighbors controversial and divisive while they were out there living their authentic lives? Absolutely not. Because while it's not what I believe in, they were not doing me any harm. So answer me this. How does this flag lessen the quality of life for the people opposing it? And why do you not have the backbone to stand up and admit that it doesn't? Thank you.
I'm Bill Toombs. I do not live in Medina. I live in Chippewa Lake. What motivated me to come up is the same thing that's motivated me other times. Part of it is, I guess, my age. I have to sort of average out, and if I, as an 84-year-old man, can see the need for change and diversity, I think all of us should. I also come up here because I spent 38 and a half years in high school. I didn't learn mine in kindergarten. I've experienced what these kids go through. And I've been retired long enough to know that they lived in the shadows when I was an administrator and a counselor, and had nobody to talk to in some of the schools. Also, the decisions made here in the city of Medina, it's sort of the center of the county, affect all the schools in the county. And by taking a flag down, you send that message of support to those who harass these kids daily. Do not accept them daily. Like the other gentleman over here said, I have the same 3 signs in my front yard all year round. And I think we need to, and I know the spot you folks find yourselves in. Because as an administrator, some of my job depended on the political decisions too. But I always stepped back and asked myself, I took this job because I wanted to be in a leadership position. And sometimes a leadership position means I have to do what is right and lead my community in the correct direction. That's hard. I know it is. Yeah, sometimes I took criticism for it. But I just want you to realize the decision you make is impacting every school in this county. Every kid that has this issue in this county. It's not just a decision. And I guess if I didn't learn anything else as an administrator for 38, well, not administrator for 38 and a half years, but in high schools, we must honor diversity you wouldn't have accepted me as an administrator if I had different preferences for one kid or another. All people deserve the right to be treated equally. And I just want you to realize that as an ex-administrator, and I'm sure some other administrators in the county feel the same way, it's an asset and a help to make those kids' lives much easier.
Give me a moment. I'm sorry. I'm a very nervous speaker. I have some notes. I'm not playing on my phone, which is a huge pet peeve of mine. I think the phones, the technology, the texting, the social media, I think a lot of that leads to not understanding people's intention, and then we have our own perception of what people's intentions are, and we have to make a lot of assumptions, sometimes because of the way we communicate, and sometimes because we just don't know what we don't know, like the one woman said. And so I think the issue with the ordinance is we want the city to be able to fly flags that represent the values of the city, that support our code, our message. And so if there's been a misrepresentation in the intention of the pride flags, because it seems to me that there's a lot of people that think that they're divisive, I just wanted to share a little bit about that. That the intention of flying the pride flag or the Juneteenth flag is not to cause division, but to promote diversity and inclusion. The pride flags that flew on our square this summer were the Progress pride flags, and those include the black and brown stripes and the light pink and light blue stripes, specifically because historically, even within the gay community, our transgendered folk and our people of color have been excluded and left out and kicked down to the bottom of the rung. There's the arrow on the left side of the flag, and that's the progress that we're making. It's pointed in the right direction, but we still have a long way to go, because even within our own community, we've held each other back. And so this is how we step forward. So there's a lot of symbolism there. We're talking about the symbol of the American flag, and I get it, the reverence for the American flag. Nobody's trying to replace it. But this is just explaining some of the symbolism in these other flags. In the Juneteenth flag, there's also a lot of symbolism. Red, white, and blue for America. There's the star, also for America, and also for the lone state, where the last slaves in our union were freed. There's a starburst, like a boom of hope, an arc for a horizon, that we're headed in a hopeful and new direction. And I just feel like that's something that we should all be able to relate to. When I hear that, when I think about those symbols and what they mean, it doesn't sound like a message of division for me. It sounds like a message of coming together for the people in our community that have been left behind and who have always been thought of last. So if these flags are symbols of hope, safety, diversity, inclusion, the pride flag isn't only for the LGBTQ+ community, and the Juneteenth flag isn't only for people of color, they're also for allies. So if you're not an ally and you're not a member of those communities, who are you saying that these flags aren't for you? I think that's my logical plea, as someone said, the logic of the ordinance. And then my emotional plea is from the side of how scary that is to think that we're letting people drive the policy who don't fit into that group of this is me, or these are people that I love and care about and believe have the right to exist and live freely in our community and safely and to pursue a life of liberty and justice for all. You know, are we saying when we don't want to do these things, is the message that it's not safe here for our kids, because anybody that has kids in school right now knows that there's a fine line between physical abuse and mental abuse and what our kids are going through. And maybe they're not getting their butts whooped, and maybe they're not getting murdered in the street, but they are certainly up against a hell of a lot of oppression in our community that we all like to pretend is going better than it is. And I think that all of us are fighting for our children, for all the children in our community, not just our kids, and we want them to be better, and we want them to do better, and we want them to be safe. So I just worry about my kids, your kids, and the message that it sends, and whether or not they feel safe in our community. So I think that's it for me. I would like to add, if at any point anyone ever wants to talk about options for the leaf removal, because I did hear that tonight about, about the leaves, that I do have some thoughts on that, but I'll hold, say, for another time. I think I forgot to say it. My name is Victoria Julie. I live on 896 Laurel Glen Drive. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Hi, my name is Heather Milks. I'm a Medina City resident. I live at 632 East Smith Road. Mr. President, members of the council, out-of-town visitors from Cleveland Heights and Lakewood, thank you guys for coming here and sharing your experiences about the positivity that's come to your communities through flying the pride flags. I love Medina. I do. There's a lot of beautiful parts about it. There are some closed-minded parts about it that I've seen start to change over the past few years, and I absolutely love that. Growth is uncomfortable. So if you want to sit in stagnation and comfort and not have something that you don't believe in or that you don't personally find important to you as part of your community, sit in your own ungrowth and stagnation. But seeing the pride flags erected around the square this year was humongous. I have family that stretches from coast to coast and even in different countries who mentioned, hey, I saw a city in your town, like Ohio, were they flying pride flags? I was like, yeah, that was my town, first time in history. Wow, growth, progress, change. If we want to be a community that's a part of those things, growth, progress, change, innovation, we have to abandon the closed-minded thought processes that are comfortable at times. Yeah, there are going to be people who don't like change. Okay, that's the way it is. It happened when we began to abolish slavery. It happened when we began to integrate schools. People would protest. People would say hateful, hurtful things. Did America throw up its hands and say, okay, let's just keep a white water fountain and a colored water fountain? No. America progressed forward and honored those people who were part of the community, those people who gave to the community, those people who were present and mattered. I have children in the school systems. I have a homosexual kid, and my house is like an open door policy. Come, however you are, whoever you are, whatever you are. Welcome to my home. What are your pronouns? What do you need? Do you want to talk? Do you want to listen? Do you want to read? Whatever it is. And you would be shocked the number of high school teenagers, members of this community that are aching, that are not supported. We may not see news about people being murdered in the streets here in Medina over their sexuality, but I can tell you firsthand, I myself was assaulted at the 4th of July parade. I had a closed-minded individual come up and scream in my face so close that he spat in my face and called me a dirty baby toucher. Not a pedophile, I'm a lesbian, two completely different things. But yeah, that hatred and that hurt, it's here in Medina, and it's felt in Medina. And the way that we're going to combat that is by recognizing things like flying the flag. We put up Christmas flags, we put up 4th of July flags, we put up the Juneteenth flags. It's not a political flag. It is honoring a member of humanity. It's honoring a group of humanity that does exist and saying, we see you, we value you, you're welcome. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Jamie. I live at 845 Greenfield Drive, Medina, Ohio, so I live here. I just wanted to make a quick statement, just after listening to some of the wonderful things people have been saying. I'm a face painter, so I painted at the Pride, Cleveland Pride, and it was such a wonderful, inclusive and loving environment, except there was a large group of people that were protesting, were angry, frustrated, saying all these things about the community that weren't true. So there's just a lot of misconception, and it really tried to shine this false light of just like someone else had saying, like pedophilia, things like that. So much misrepresentation for the community, and it was so sad. So I know someone had mentioned that, there's not hate here, but there really is, and hate really does have a home in Ohio, and we are fostering that by, taking down these flags that mean a lot for people. I grew up in a home, my parents are lesbians, I have a transgender mother, and I can tell you that there was only love growing up. And there is so much love in this community, and I would just love to, see that love be here as well in Medina, because I think it could hold more of a presence here. And that's all.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Prentice, and I live at 6399 Hooper Drive. I wasn't going to speak. I just have 3 quick points to address. The first, the gentleman that came up here and spoke, I sort of regret not clapping for him. I appreciate your service wherever you are. I appreciate the fact that you spoke tonight. The fact that you don't understand why we need a flag, that's why we need a flag. That's exactly it. So I appreciate that you stood up and demonstrated that for us. Vicki spoke about how there's a fine line between physical abuse and mental abuse. I would like to speak to Mayor Hanwell's response in his email, which I very much appreciated today, that there's legislation that they passed to protect the LGBTQ+ community. Thank you. Unfortunately, kids in our schools and many, many community members do not read that legislation. They don't know it, and they don't care. Because they're not actually breaking the law. It's not necessarily about the law in order for us to use that legislation and have our law enforcement officers protect our community. It's about the attitude. It's about the attitude of some people that live in this city, in this county, in this country. And that attitude is where the flags being displayed helps more than you can ever know. The second thing, I think the third actually, was the gentleman, the legislation, and then third thing is that it was being compared to the civil rights movement and that was not appropriate. I beg to differ because I wasn't around for the civil rights movement. I was close, but I wasn't. And I can't speak to the trauma and the horrors of that. However, the assassinations of some singular public figures at different points in history, tragic, horrible. I will not downplay that. Meanwhile, people that don't have names or crimes that were not classified as hate crimes, people that aren't public figures, hundreds, thousands, I don't know how many, those people are being verbally, mentally abused, physically abused, murdered, lynched. Those people count. Non-public figures count. It is a civil rights movement because it is a human rights issue and it matters. So it's not about comparing, but it is absolutely about protecting those lives. And that's it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Reverend Megan Malone. I live at 3299 East Normandy Park Drive, and I am the associate pastor at Medina United Church of Christ Congregational, which is right over here on the square. I also happen to be a person who identifies as bisexual, and thus I am a part of the LGBTQ community. Over the past 10 years of my life in the different churches that I have served, I have spent a lot of time ministering to and alongside of queer people. Our community faces many unique challenges in life. We continue to experience discrimination and exclusion in many places. People are harassed and assaulted and murdered. It is still a struggle to come out and to be out in the world today. And if you ask any queer person about their experiences, they will gladly tell you that that is the truth. What I want to tell you tonight from my own experience is that there is nothing quite like the joy of watching a young person's face light up when they go to their first Pride celebration. It is often the first time that they are able to see and experience that they are not alone and that they are celebrated and that they are loved when they see those rainbow flags. And I guarantee you that that happened for somebody last June. Queer people cannot assume that we are safe or welcome or loved everywhere. And it is usually not outwardly visible until harm is already being done. But pride flags are an outward sign to queer people of all ages, both out and not, that there is a community here that supports them in spite of the hatred that they experience, a community that welcomes and cares for them that they truthfully would not otherwise know about if it weren't for pride celebrations. What I'm worried about after I listened to the conversation earlier is that you might decide that pride flags are some silly thing that is not necessary, that it doesn't fall into the right lines to be considered to be hung in our square. But I want you to know that I have experienced the ways that pride flags can save lives. Pride flags give hope to people who are hiding themselves in the closet for fear that they will lose everything and everyone they love when they come out. I know that you want this to be a community where all people are able to know that they are safe and welcome and wanted, and that's really all the pride flag is about. There should be nothing controversial about being a city that loves and accepts everyone who is here, and they are already here. There should be nothing controversial about making sure that the most vulnerable people among us are safe and know that they are people who love and care for them. I know that there is controversy, though. I know it's hard for us to address these issues. And I know from personal experience in the church that it is hard to face exclusion and conflict because you are standing on the side of inclusion and love. But I will also tell you from my experience in the church that we are going to be a better community as a result of choosing to take a stand that says that everyone is welcome here and everyone deserves to be safe here. Everyone deserves to be free enough to be themselves here and see themselves represented on the square. Thank you.
Well, for an entirely different subject, good evening. My name is Amy Barnes. I live at 314 East Washington Street in Medina. I am here tonight in hopes that careful thought and consideration will be given to a request. Being a truly great city has little to do with new buildings and high-end businesses, and has everything to do with the people and the standards they set. With the bow hunting of deer within city limits on hold until the results from Election Day, November 2023, are known, Medina has a golden opportunity to show what a stellar city she can be. Understandably, this issue has been muddied by extreme emotion on both sides, and what should have been the focus got lost. Ironically, the reality is that both sides actually agree. The deer population in Medina needs to be controlled. That the easy answer of destruction was so quickly clung to by all but one of our city leaders is distressing. Medina can be better. Medina can do better. We are better than this. The true measure of a society can be seen by looking at how it treats the most vulnerable of lives, whether those be human or animal. Destruction is the easy answer. To quickly end calls to City Hall, but that does not make it the right answer. If Medina truly wants to show the grandeur she is capable of, it is time to let go of destruction. Instead, I implore you as leaders, as humans who are capable of finer things, to take this time to implement the Humane Society's Deer Control Program. Show that you have the courage to try another answer, even if it proves your previous decision was not the right path. Cooperation, coordination, and compromise. There is time to invest in a humane control program instead of open slaughter on animals that have learned to trust us so much that they put their babies beside our homes to protect them. We have a year to try the Humane Society program to honestly see how it works for Medina, hopefully with a group instead of one person in charge of evaluating results. A year to prove we do not have to destroy for progress. A year to show our children that we truly believe that violence is not the way to solve problems. Please give careful thought and consideration to giving the Humane Society plan a chance so we can show residents, potential residents, and visitors to our wonderful city how great Medina can be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, that looks like that's about everybody. We appreciate all the comments. I did receive probably around 12 emails to be read in the council, and I guess I just wanted to clarify. We usually were reading emails in the council because of COVID, because nobody could come to the meeting, but as this shows that this is a very good turnout, and there was a lot of great discussion. So the 12 emails I received were all for supporting the flag ordinance and discussed many, if not all of the things that were discussed here tonight, and I appreciate the emails that came in. But I do want to, and I apologize, because I believe this is on me, I did not clarify that once COVID is over, you know, we would expect people to come in and address council, because that's the best way to do it, instead of me just reading emails into the record. But all these items are, of course, in our email system, our public record, and should be viewed as such, as being part of the public record. But again, all 12 of them were in support of the flag ordinance, and all the arguments and all the discussion points, let's say, that were discussed this evening are, if I recall, part of every email that I received. So I do want to apologize to those that thought that they would be read into the record, but I want to just reiterate that COVID is over, hopefully, and we have live meetings now, and the interaction we have here is better than just me reading an email into the record. So I just want to clarify that point. Moving on now to introduction and consideration of ordinances and resolutions. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings on the following ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance 202-22, 203-22, 204-22, 205-22, Resolution 206-22, Ordinance 207-22, 208-22, 209-22, and 210-22.
Mr. President.
Mr. Shields.
I will make a motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings of tonight's ordinances and resolutions.
Second. Discussion on suspending the rules on 3 readings. Will clerk please call the roll on the motion to suspend the rules on 3 readings?
Coin,
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Lamb,
No.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 yeas, 1 nay.
Ordinance 20222, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Medina County Board of Commissioners pertaining to the sanitary sewer replacement for West Smith Road reconstruction, Phase 4.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Patton.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an MOU between the city and the county in regards to the West Smith reconstruction, Phase 4 reconstruction. This simply binds the county into paying for 100% of the costs of the sanitary sewer replacement.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Hare.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Ordinance 20222 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 20322, an ordinance amending Section 2 of Ordinance Number 13922, passed July 11, 2022, relative to the bids for the West Smith Reconstruction Phase 4 project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President.
Mr. Shields?
The emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on emergency clause and ordinance, Mr. Patton.
Thank you, Mr. President. When we acquired council authorization to bid this project, we had estimated the total cost at $5,096,000. When we accepted bids, the lowest bid was about $160,000 more than that. We attribute that mostly to the rising costs in materials and pricing this year. We don't think it would be in the city's best interest to turn down these bids, so we recommended the Board of Control that they award it contingent upon council allocating the additional funds for it, and that's what this is. Just to review, this project in total is $5,256,000. $2,046,500 of that is coming from a grant. That previous ordinance was $375,000, some change from the county. So the city's share of this project is $2.8 million.
Thank you. That's from account 108.
Correct, yep.
And for everybody, account 108 is allocation of the income tax that goes to fixing the roads and stuff like that. So that's where that's coming from.
And I'm sorry, the reason for the emergency clause is we did open these bids about 6 weeks ago. The contractor's kind of on hold from purchasing materials till we get the contract signed, so we want to be able to sign it immediately.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the emergency clause or the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the emergency clause?
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Ordinance 20322 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 20422, an ordinance amending Rule 8K3 of the Civil Service Rules and Regulations of the City of Medina relative to probationary periods for promotional appointments.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion, Mayor Hamwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the recent promotion of a sergeant, Chief Kinney from the police department astutely found that our collective bargaining agreement with the sergeants had a one-year probationary period, but our civil service rule had a 45-day. For the police chief, the two lieutenants, and our police sergeants, generally with all of those promotions, we prefer the year. We were obligated to follow the collective bargaining agreement, but this just aligns civil service rule with our collective bargaining agreement, and respectfully ask council's approval.
Any further discussion on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Ordinance 20422 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 20522, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept a stormwater operation and maintenance agreement, SWOMA, from Sanders Food Corporation for the newly installed stormwater detention system.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Patton.
Thank you, Mr. President. We've passed a number of these recently. This is due to an EPA rule that requires that we enter into this agreement with the property owner. When they develop it, it's of a certain size. It simply binds them to maintain their detention system in going forward.
Any further discussion on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on adoption of the ordinance?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Ordinance 20522 passes 7-0.
Resolution 20622, a resolution authorizing the filing of a grant agreement to the Bureau of Justice Assistance, BGA, Department of Justice, DOJ, for the body-worn camera policy and implementation program for the police department.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President.
Mr. Shields?
The emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on the emergency clause and resolution. Chief Kinney.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is requesting permission to apply for and accept the body camera
grant if it is awarded to us. It is a 50% match. We won't use this grant unless there is new body cameras that come out prior to December of 2024. The emergency clause is requested because the due date has already passed.
Any further discussion on emergency clause of the resolution? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the emergency clause?
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Clerk, please call the roll on the adoption of the resolution.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Resolution 206-22 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 20722, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of 3 2023 Ford Interceptors, including upfit from Montrose Ford for the police department.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion, Chief Ginning.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is for the purchase of 3 frontline vehicles in addition to their upfit.
Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Hare.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Ordinance 207-22 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 20822, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a listing and marketing agreement with Brindley Mountain Fire Apparatus for the sale of a 1997 Pierce fire truck for the fire department.
Move to approve.
Second. Discussion, Chief Walters.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is for a nearly 25-year-old aerial apparatus that the fire department no longer utilizes as a frontline vehicle. Although it is older, has low miles, it's still in pretty good shape, and the city could benefit by selling this through a specialized auction such as Brindley Mountain, as compared to a local auction like we typically would do for this. So we're requesting permission for the mayor to be authorized to enter into this listing and marketing agreement for the sale of this truck. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Ordinance 208-22 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 20922, an ordinance amending ordinance number 20121 passed December 13th, 2021, amendments to the 2022 budget.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion, Mrs. Bowers.
Thank you, Mr. President. These are appropriations for a couple of donations, and then a lot of them are for repaying advances and rolling advances over, which are when the city receives grant money, we do an advance until we get repaid for the grant. So that's
Yes.
what
Any
both
further
of them are for.
discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Ordinance 209-22 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 21022, an ordinance authorizing the finance director to roll over certain outstanding advances.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion, Mrs. Bowers.
These are the advances. We're required by the state to roll over any that were going into the next year, so we repay and then we re-advance from the general fund.
Any further discussion on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hare.
Yes.
Hazeltine.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Ordinance 210-22 passes 7-0.
Council comments. Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, everybody, for attending tonight. All your comments were very much appreciated, and I think you know this council and administration will do the right thing. We're just going to make things, as our union, more perfect. Other than that, just remember, everybody, be kind to one another. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hazeltine?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to take a moment to recognize our LST team and our police department. Over the weekend, I was escorting a woman from out of town over to Ormondy's, and she tripped on the sidewalk. She fell on her face. So she was pretty badly injured, and also the owner of Blackbird Records came out to help. We were able to escort her inside, and they were there within minutes. So I would like to applaud both of those teams. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Rose?
Thank you. Friday, we celebrated Veterans Day, and it's been somewhat of a tradition of mine. I want to thank the veterans for all their service, putting their lives on the line and keeping us safe to allow us to do what we did here tonight. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. We would be somewhere else. So keep that in mind, okay? And to the one lady who spoke from Lakewood, I moved from Lakewood to Medina for lower taxes, more space, and bigger housing. Okay? Thank you.
Any other council comments? Mr. Lamb?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple things. I don't know how young you are, but to the young man, I think, who spoke and was concerned about us pushing, I think you used the word pushing back, which it appears maybe like delaying, but my sense is clearly, and I wouldn't say this if I didn't believe it was true, my sense is that what we are doing is we are trying to not push it back, but what we have discussed tonight about the guardrails, the method of deciding what can or can't be flown in a logical and legitimate way, fair way. Our goal is to find a way to do that so that it will work. And I know that, we will work together, and there will be a result come out of that. We will work with the administration. Members of council will work together to try to craft an ordinance that will be a good guide for us going forward. So I just want you to know that, because I hear what you're saying, and what government probably sounds like sometimes is, it's always easier to push something off, or let's study it for another year or two, and then we can forget. And lastly, just sometimes I do think about these things from when I grew up. What we talk about a lot are really just, some strong-held beliefs, attitudes, which are sort of like knots. Sometimes if you want to untangle attitudes or change things, they're not always really, it's not always easy to do. It's important to do, though. And someone spoke tonight about education and the openness of a discussion, trying to make things better. When my father came home from the war, he got married and started a company. And we lived on the west side of Cleveland, all-white community. And my father was a relatively big guy in the community. But he chose for his business partner, when he started the company, he chose a black man who lived on the east side of Cleveland. And he seemed to never give it any thought whatsoever. But growing up with my father, I understood the kinds of quiet comments that were leveled at him because of the fact that his business partner was black. And on occasion, I would question my father about what I heard. And although my father didn't have a college education, he was somewhat of a student of Emerson and Thoreau. And my father would frequently tell me that the purpose of life was not to be happy, but it was to be useful, to be compassionate, to try to make a difference. And that was all it was about. And I remember that, and I've never lived up to it as well as I think he did. But it was a great lesson to learn, that there is a basis in our being alive, that we are here to be helpful and to make a difference in the fact that we were here. And wherever you are on an issue, however hard the knot is to try to untie, if everybody could stick in that place and be in that place, that would probably make a world of difference in making things better and in tying some of these difficult knots. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just have two things. Remember that this weekend is Candlelight Walk, and everybody go out and enjoy the lights. I mean, that's a great thing. And there's a parade. Enjoy the parade and enjoy the fireworks. That's very important. But the more important thing is next week's Thanksgiving. So everybody have a safe Thanksgiving and enjoy the time with your family during the time of Thanksgiving at the meal that is going to be shared. Those are the most important times of our lives, so enjoy it. Meeting is adjourned. No potty break. We had to get it.